All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, November 4th. We got 8 games on today's NBA slate to jump into. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every game. I'll talk about it, give you my lean on the spread, give you my lean on the total, but all my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If you want to fade me, which has been kind of profitable the last few nights, if you do want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comment here. Last night, this is what we're looking at, a 1-3 night. The only positive thing I could say is that Grizzlies play was a half unit, so it wasn't a 1-3 monetarily wise, but still, nonetheless, 1 green check mark, 3 red X's. Like, how can I get around that? I'm going to own the losses just as much as I like to celebrate the wins. I don't really remember what that feels like in the NBA, though. That thing's getting worn out, that goddamn womp womp button. But nonetheless, guys, a 1-3 night last night. One piece of positive news here. All right, of the day cashes coming in from the official CJ. Brook Lopez over 1.5 3-pointers made. I think he doubled that line. He might have had 3 or 4 actually. So let's pump in some damn crowd noise. Shout out to the ride of the day there from the official CJ. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day, I need some winners, guys. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me an absolute banger of a play. I'll be going through looking at that hashtag and picking one person in the comments, jumping on board with your pick, then giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. We've been pretty damn good with ride of the days, so keep that energy up, guys. Same thing to the guppies. If you think I'm going to lose all NBA season, keep that energy up. Keep fading me. We'll see what happens. May the best man win here. I have no ground or legs to stand on right now. If I'm like, no, you're wrong. No. I've been wrong about damn near 55% of my picks, which is not that great. But nonetheless, let's talk about what could be. And we're looking at a decent-sized NBA slate tonight. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Let's jump into game number 1. Philadelphia hosting Phoenix here. Now, I like the Phillies. I like Philadelphia in this spot simply because they do have the defense. The Suns, I'm not putting too much weight into their defense as of, I guess, this year so far. What are they allowing? I think they're allowing near the the middle of the pack in terms of points per game, but they get worse as the game goes on too. But in terms of field goal percentage against, they're okay. But then all of a sudden it's like field goals attempts, field goal made, 3-point percentage. They're kind of all over the place. So if you want to break down their stats, there's definitely some parts of the Suns defense that looks really good. But even to the eye test, you could tell that they have some problems. Now Philadelphia on the other end, no matter how you want to split it, stats wise or eye test, this is a team that looks like it has some defensive identity here. Shot blocking, whether it's Pat Bev from the guard position, obviously Embiid. I think Kelly Oubre is looking good defensively. Tobias Harris looking good defensively, and company, right? So I do like them too in the spot in which that in terms of their defense gets better as the game goes on. In terms of third quarter defense, second fewest points allowed, fourth fewest points allowed. So this is a defense on the Philly side of things that just gets better as the game goes on. And if you look at the Suns here, 29th in fourth quarter scoring on the season. So this is a team that seems like they give up on games. If Philly's going to have that grit, they're at home. They know this is a big superstar driven type game. I like them in this spot. Now, if Devin Booker does not play, he's questionable right now. I like the Philadelphia Sixers even more, obviously, but I actually like them even if he is playing, and we'll see where this line goes to. But we can get it at 3.5 right now. I like that spot. I've already seen some sportsbooks bump it to 4.5. In terms of the total, I just bragged about Philly's defense. I said that the Suns, to some degree, are defensively too, but 220 seems a little bit too low, okay? Even if the Suns go out there and score, 107, 108, I think the Philly defense has done its job, but, Philly is going to win this game by more than 4 or more points, like I'm thinking. That's still kind of increasing and getting right up there to that total. So I'm going to stick away from the total in this one and just trust Philly to do their thing. There could be a 1,000,000-point score if they win by 4 points. Great. There could be 4 points scored and if they win 4-0. Great. I'm not going to really look too much at the total here because it is a low number for the offensive weapons that both teams have. All right, Pelicans taking on the Hawks here. Pelicans favored at home. Total sitting at 234, actually. So the graphic, it's updated a little bit here, but 234 right now on most sportsbooks. In terms of injuries, Brandon Ingram is questionable. Nothing major outside of that. Brandon Ingram didn't play. What has he had? I think he's had a knee injury, right? He's missed the past 3 games. So we'll see if he plays today. Either way, I'm looking at the under in this spot. That's going to be my main lean. Atlanta has scored a boatload of points and let up a boatload of points, and I get that. But some of the teams that they've played here, Charlotte, Washington, Minnesota, like teams that you don't really say, okay, those teams have great defenses. New Orleans, I'm not saying they have a great defense, but they are a pretty damn good defense in terms of what we're looking at here. Best team in 3-point percentage against. That's obviously huge for the Hawks there. Fourth ranked field goal percentage against. Then in terms of their top 10 team in terms of points against this season. So I'm giving them their flowers. They did, it was a 130 to Golden State, right? But that was kind of the only huge game. OKC may have dropped a decent amount. No, they didn't. OKC only scored like 116 or 106, something like that, right? So they've been manageable outside of that Golden State game. This has been a team that's actually either kept games close or played some good basketball. 4-1 on the season and 4-1 against the spread. They've also cashed 3 unders in their 5 games. So give me the Pelicans, or excuse me, give me the under as my main lean here. I also don't hate the Pelicans because I do think a lot of people are thinking that the Hawks here are the flashier team and everything like that. But the Pelicans just seem like a better built team. If Brandon Ingram doesn't play though, I'm just looking at the under, probably sticking away from the spread here. Indiana taking on the Charlotte Hornets here. Indiana 3-2 on the year. What I like to see though, and this total is so high, so I don't know if I have the balls to pull the trigger, but they have cashed 4 of their 5 games to the over here, and their totals have been pretty damn high. 235, 230, 234. What was it? 235 was the opening night. Like they've had some damn high totals, and they are cashing these, which is kind of crazy here. And I expect them to kind of do it again. This team plays with so much pace. And this is not a good defense for obviously the Charlotte Hornets here. They will let you run all over them and score all over them. So I look at the over. I might even take a peek to try and see what we can get the Pacers team total at. They are coming off of a back-to-back. But like I told you guys before, I don't use back-to-backs really early in the year as much as, a crutch as some might think, because this is... these are young 20s, mid 20s guys running around. They can handle 2 nights in a row playing basketball. When it gets later on in the year and you're beating and bruising all that, then we can talk about back-to-backs. But I don't think Indiana's like, oh gosh, we played last night, now we got to play Charlotte again. The Charlotte team's like the little kid at the playground. Like, they should take care of them, right? So Indiana -3.5. I like that spot. Again, I don't mind their team total either, but you're gonna have to look at some serious numbers to get some good odds here. I think it's like over 121 for a team total. That's super high, but I'm almost more comfortable taking that than the total itself, because what if Charlotte doesn't carry their weight? But nonetheless, Indiana here -3.5 is going to be my lean. Total sitting at 236.5. Gun to my head, I say this one goes over, but it might be too high for me to actually pull the trigger on. All right, guys, before we continue on, allow me for 2 seconds to brag about the sports brand that we have built, the Fade Me brand. We have tons of new products out right now. These are coming soon, the tie-dye collection here, but the ones that we launched yesterday are so cool. The Grinch Drinks Holiday Tee, as well as the Santa Drinks Holiday Tee, comes in a bunch of different colors and sizes as well, guys. This is one of the cooler shirts and collections that we've put out. These will also be available in hoodies in due time, but definitely go check out Fade Me, guys. fademe.store. If you go and give us your email too, just by clicking this thing over on the side, you guys can get a 15% off code. Definitely go check it out, support what we're doing here, and get some great merch at the same time. Now let's go ahead and get back to the slate. All right, Orlando taking on the Lakers here. Orlando sitting at home as 3.5-point dogs. Total sitting at 218.5. I have to take a peek at that total being over. I've seen some books in the 220s as well, so there's a lot of variance out there for this. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, we could still get 218.5, because I do like that. I don't really buy into this Magic defense as much as some might. They do have obviously some youth and some length on that team, but Wendell Carter Jr. is due to miss tonight's game. I think that impacts their defense just a bit. And we're talking LeBron James, Anthony Davis on the other side of things offensively. So I know Orlando seems like they could be the better team. They're 4-1 against the spread this year compared to the Lakers 1-4. But this seems like a spot in which nobody thinks the Lakers is going to go out there and beat this Orlando team. Now, they already beat them a couple nights ago. They wouldn't have even covered this line, right? They won by 3. It's a 3.5-point spread. But I think the Lakers are the better team. And as much as it pains me to be like, oh, no, they're still good and all that, like, obviously the NBA could benefit from that team being bad because there's memes, it's fun, is LeBron over the hill for the LeBron haters, like, whatever, right? But when you look at their schedule, Denver, Phoenix, Sacramento, then they played Orlando, then the Clippers. It's like this team has had a brutal 5-game start to the season just from the competition level. When Orlando was a game that, they're out there supposed to go out there and get the win, right? They did their job. They even beat the Clippers. They beat Phoenix. Like, this is a Lakers team that's playing a little bit better than I think a lot of people are giving them credit for. So I'll take them -3.5 tonight here, even though they are on the road. They're yet to get a road win this year, but I'll take them. Like I said, that 218 just seems a little bit too palatable to me. Like, I could see this one easily hitting the over there. So I'm going to lean towards the over in this spot as well. Definitely two of my probably more favorite plays of the evening here. Both the over as well as the Lakers in this spot. I meant to tell you guys about this earlier, but I will do so now. Sleeper has a great deal going on right now. 2 promo squares for them. Josh Allen for Sunday Night Football. They've dropped his passing yards line down to 0.5. And then for Monday Night Football, Justin Herbert, they've also dropped his passing yards line down to 0.5. You guys want to check out Sleeper? I got you with 100% of your first deposit match. Just use the link in the pinned comment here or download it and use code GUYBOSTON. But guys, if you don't know what Sleeper is, you got to test it out and try it out if it's legal in your state. It's a great pick'em app. Combine 2 to 8 players in a player prop slip. The more you get right, obviously, the more you get paid out. And speaking of the payouts here, each and every slip you put in has its own dynamic multiplier based on the multipliers of the players you put in that slip. They do not follow the fixed structure like all the other pick'em apps of the Prize Picks and Underdogs. Great apps, but they do not follow the same fixed payout structure as those apps. It's really something that Sleeper does unique. So definitely go check out Sleeper, guys. Sorry, I meant to tell you guys that earlier in the video, but the real ones are getting the deal now, the non-guppies. But let's go ahead and jump back into the games here. We're kicking it off with a tough one. Brooklyn taking on Boston. Now, Brooklyn, why can we never get anything else right this NBA season? But I've had my finger on the pulse of the freaking Brooklyn Nets, right? 5-0 against the spread. Night number 1, I said that this is going to be a good against the spread team because I think they're bad enough to get big numbers, good enough to keep some games close. They are 5-0 against the spread. They're 3-2 on the year, but this Celtics team seems like a different animal, don't they? They beat the Pacers by 51 points. Like, it's not easy to beat a team by 50 points, right? And they just went out there and did it against a team that Pacers are a team that do not give up. They stick in the games, blah, blah, blah. No Tyrese Halliburton, so, that has a little bit of a caveat next to it, an asterisk. But 51-point win nonetheless. They beat Washington by nearly 20. This is a really good Celtics team. Are they 9.5 points better than the Nets? They probably are, but that's not a number I'm willing to lay. This Celtics team, for as good as they are, they're 2-1-1 against the spread, so positive against the spread, but way different than 4-0, right? A couple of these games have been closer than we think. Miami, they won but didn't cover against. The Nets, they pushed, or the Knicks, they pushed against. It's kind of like, okay, well, they're a really good team. They're cleaning up the bad teams, but where does Brooklyn fit in? Because good teams have kept it close. Bad teams, the Celtics have been blowing out. So we'll see where Brooklyn ends up being, but I do think that I lean Brooklyn plus 9.5. Now, if you know anything about me or have followed for a long time, I'm a huge Celtics fan, and I will not make a final play against the Celtics. Say what you want. Maybe that's why I'm, having a 48% NBA season start, right? Maybe that's the reason, because I'm thinking with my heart, not my head. But we rarely bet on Celtics games because I get so much enjoyment and intensity just from watching it. But in terms of a lean, I think it might be too many points to give. Now, if Brooklyn's going to be one of those bad teams, Celtics win this game by 30. But if they're going to be one of those good teams, they keep this game close. Total sitting at 229. Another outdated number, guys. We woke up early to try and get this video going and put a lot into it. So some of these numbers have moved even since then. But we're seeing the numbers at 228.5 as of right now. And then in terms of that, I think I like the under. Boston just scored all those points. I think they come back down to earth a little bit here. And not that this Brooklyn team is really good defensively, but 2 games in a row now, they've held their opponent to 110 or less, right? Before that, they let up like 150 to Charlotte. So yeah, I'm picking and choosing where I take my numbers from. But yeah, in November here, averaging only 109 allowed to opponents. So slightly lean towards the under. All right, Minnesota taking on Utah here in this one. Minnesota 2-2 on the season, 2-2 against the spread. The Jazz 2-4 on the year, 3-3 against the spread. I will say, this is a team in which they've cashed 5 of their 6 games going towards the over. So you're probably like, oh, that's great, 225, 226-ish, good number, right? Well, Minnesota, on the other hand, has only cashed one over of all their games. So you have two teams that are playing much different basketball here. Jazz offense, averaging near 115 points per game here. Minnesota offense not doing all that much the same, 105. So you have either a game that's going to be slow or a game that's going to go up tempo here. I think the Jazz keep this game somewhat close. So I like the fact that, if the Jazz are setting the pace, keeping this game close, we could see an over here. We even saw Orlando and Utah a couple nights ago, right? That was a game that didn't seem like it was all that crazy pace or anything like that, and it finished at 115, 113. So that's a 228 total there. I think the Jazz get Minnesota uncomfortable here. Maybe Minnesota wins if they are the home team, but 7.5 points, or 7.5, 8 points, a little bit too much to be laying, in my opinion. So I'm going to lean towards the Jazz here, as well as a slight lean towards the over, because I think the only way the Jazz keep this game close is by playing their style basketball and not fitting into Memphis's, slower routine there. So give me Jazz covering in this spot. And then again, a slight lean towards the over, kind of correlated with that. Rockets taking on the Kings here. Someone's got to tell me, is this a trap? Sacramento, who I think are one of the better teams in the league, 3-1 against the spread this year. They're only 3-point favorites against Houston. This is a Sacramento team that, their only losses on the year have been to Golden State. They've played them twice. That 2-2, like they cleaned up Utah, played well against the Lakers. And this Houston team ain't great. 1-3 on the season, 1-1 at home if you want to give them that credit. But I don't know. Kind of smells like a trap. Like, why Sacramento -3? Like, I honestly get it. And by the way, De'Aaron Fox out. I know that, and still don't think it makes all that much of a difference playing this Houston team. So if you want to tell me that that's the reason, then I don't think that's a good enough reason to make them what I would consider them usually probably 8-point favorites or so, down to 3-point favorites. Something's fishy about this, but we might just walk right into the trap. Give me Sacramento -3 for 3 points. The total also seems super, super low. This is a bad Houston defense, a really good Sacramento offense. And even from the Houston side of things, like, this is not a good Sacramento defense. So I don't know. Maybe this is where our season starts to turn, when I'm identifying something and I'm just like, duh. Like, I like Sacramento -3, and I like the over 221 in this game. And I'm a fan of both of those. Strong chance to be a final play. So maybe this is sort of the turning point where I'm seeing something that Vegas isn't, which has not happened exactly yet, right? Remember, you can always fade me. You don't have to follow my picks blindly. But yeah, Sacramento -3, over 221. Let's move on to the last game. All right, Nuggets hosting the Bulls here. This is a tough one because you look at this spread and say, well, that's a huge number, right? And Denver's 3-3 against the spread this year, not covering exceptionally well. But they're so much better than Chicago. Chicago, no injuries to note here. For Denver, no injuries as well, so we should have a healthy team. But Chicago, 2 straight losses. They've lost 3 of their last 4, 2-4 on the year, 1-5 against the spread. Like, this is a bad Chicago team right now. Why not roll with Denver? That seems like a trap to me as well. I think Denver can easily win this game, but 9.5 points. Do they keep their foot on the gas for that long? Most likely. I'm going to lean towards Denver, but if you are on Chicago's side of things, I do think there's a little something in me saying, seems like a lot of points for a game in which everyone assumes Denver's just going to walk through this one. Chicago could keep this one somewhat close. Denver also on the back-to-back as well as Chicago, so who do you think fares better there? Probably Chicago. The hungry dog runs faster, that type of thing. But yeah, I guess I'll lean towards Denver because I think it's safer. But if you're on Chicago, I don't necessarily hate that spot, as weird as it sounds. They're such a bad team that they're getting a big number, but that number means maybe is just a little bit too big. In terms of the total, 216.5. You want to think this one's an under, right? Because you have a bad offense in Chicago. This Nuggets defense has been really good to start the year. And then when you flip things, so Denver's offense, middle of the road against a bad defense in Chicago. So I think this is, once you look at it from, I guess, like I said, Denver's defense makes you want to take the under, but then the Chicago Bulls defense makes you want to take the over. I think I'm going to trust the worst defense, and that's going to be the Bulls here to allow a decent amount of points. So give me the over 216.5. It is a low number. Again, this is one where you can probably tell in my voice I'm not enthusiastic about Denver -9.5 or even the over. Like, if you're on the under, I could see why the numbers tell two different tales depending on how you want to spin it, right? Same thing with the Bulls. Like, do the Bulls, or does Denver think this is such an easy game that the Bulls keep it close? That could also happen. So either way, guys, this isn't the best game on today's slate, but I'm going to go Denver -9.5, as well as the over 216.5. And that wraps it up for another episode, guys. If you're still watching at this moment, drop the emoji. We talked about it in yesterday's video. If you don't know what emoji I'm talking about, you got to do some digging. We'll help you out and tell you soon, but you'll probably see the emojis in the comments from the real ones that know. Drop the emoji in the comments if you're listening to this right now, because I'm not even telling you what emoji. So if you're a real one, you know. If you know, you know. But we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.